of the day, starting with Peter with the number of the day.
Francis, thanks very much indeed. Yes, we always like to start either with a chart or a number. And today we have a number. Let's take a look. There you go. 10.74%. Now, that is a gain, which is good news for somebody. Pharmaceutical company Aspen, they're trying to reassure investors that it won't be the next Steinhoff. Now, earlier, shares in this company had plunged actually on speculation that it could be involved in financial manipulation. But they jumped nearly 11%, 10.7475% to be exact, after the company said that it's not aware of any information that is of a price-sensitive nature. Now, the rumour mill has been awash with claims that Viceroy Research, the company, could see be soon releasing a report that slams Aspen's financial reporting. Viceroy also investigated Steinhoff, that is struggling in a wake of an accounting scandal that has disgraced its top leaders. But is it all just speculation? Well, Viceroy's research has not yet divulged its analysis. In fact, Viceroy itself tweeted in late December that it has another leading South African company in its sights. That's what they said in December. But today, the company has been quoted in local media and is tweeting the quote saying that it encourages people not to speculate on the identity of any company that it's researching. And you can note that there isn't a denial that Aspen Pharmacare is the company that they're busy looking at. Well, Aspen Pharmacare is based in South Africa, and like Steinhoff, it has expanded into many other markets overseas through mergers and acquisitions. It's not the first time that it's attracted some negative publicity, though. Last year, the European Union launched a formal application into the company over claims that it raised the price of cancer medicines by several hundred%, and that the company was fined in Italy as well. It was also among companies investigated in South Africa over excessive pricing. But the Competitions Commission at the time dropped that probe in October last year, saying that the case couldn't be sustained against them. So 10.74%, that's the jump up, the recovery for the share of Aspen Pharmacare. It had gone down around about 10% yesterday on speculation that Viceroy Research Company was about to release, or was investigating Aspen, and that there could be a Steinhoff in the making. Well, to discuss this, I'm now joined on the line by David Shapiro from Aspen Securities. Dave, always a pleasure to talk to you. Happy New Year. Let's start there. And I just wonder, you know, are we blowing this out of proportion? Are we just getting excited? I mean, to call it another Steinhoff, is that a stretch too far, do you think?
Much too far. They're incomparable. I'm an Aspen fan. I know it's gone through a little bit of a rough time recently. In fact, the share price at the end of November was about 315, and it's come down even after good numbers. In fact, Stephen Saar today in a release, in fact, I read it in Business Day this morning, said that, you know, wait for the numbers, and the numbers will be out in mid-January, and I'm sure he's pushing towards very decent numbers. And we saw some good numbers in their last set of results as well. So I'm not sure what's disturbing the company. The share prices have come down all the way from November. But to be fair, Peter, you know, I've also been looking for Viceroy. Suddenly, this is an unknown entity. It's very difficult to get information about who they are, who the characters are behind them, and also some of their releases. So I think they put a lot of fear into the market. And just to digress slightly, what the market's been worrying about is saying, well, which companies have embarked on very aggressive trading strategies or very aggressive accumulative strategies, and are starting to push those down. So what we have seen today and what continues to fall were some of the property companies in the NEPI stable. Those businesses all came under pressure. Resilient, NEPI, Green Bay, Fortis for the second day in a row, even though they came out with some trading updates that show some meaningful increases in the payout. So the market very, very jittery about Viceroy, and I I think Viceroy unfair in putting out these tweets or even giving a warning that they were looking at other South African companies. But I'm sure that Aspen will actually pull out of this downtrend and pick up again. So, but
all right.
that's markets.
Yeah, but look, let's look and compare with Steinhoff, because you know, people didn't see it coming, although all the numbers in theory were there. And so you've given us a clue. Yes, it's not unusual to have rapid expansion through acquisitions, but it does seem as if Steinhoff was doing it through equity and debt, and that Aspen is going the debt version pretty much. So doesn't that make Steinhoff more vulnerable? I mean, Aspen.
You mean through
the debt?
I don't think you can compare. I think Aspen has been a big cash generative company, and most of the acquisitions are paid for without equity, rather on debt. Whereas I think Steinhoff was issuing equity all over the place, suggesting that they're not raising cash. You know, so you can't compare the two. I think that Aspen is much better placed. I think also what you have to understand about Aspen is that it's a transformative company. It changed direction mainly because it saw that it was running out of growth in South Africa. It was a generic company, mainly focused around here, and realized that in order to expand, it had to go offshore, and therefore did some big acquisitions, buying manufacturing facilities and also licenses from GlaxoSmithKline, from Merck, etc., and is now pushing into three distinct areas: is coagulants, anesthetics, and also in baby formula. So it's this redirection that will take time before they can actually make decent returns on the acquisitions. It's not something that can be done straight away. But I think if we had time to go through it, and I actually had the numbers in front of me, I think Steinhoff and Aspen, I don't think one can really compare them on a one-on-one basis.
Okay, so you're the CA. You guys are able to look at these numbers, and most people, they're obsessed with the income statement and maybe the balance sheet sometimes. And you do these clever ratios, and somebody worked out something called return on assets managed, and they're saying that Aspen's ratio is declining. Does that tell us something? Is this something that we should be paying attention to?
I think correctly so, as they absorb their acquisitions. It'll take time before they're able to turn that around. But in order to do so, they had to pay up for their strategy. They had to pay up in order to get the kind of companies and the quality companies that they wanted. So yeah, it'll take time for them to do it. I understand where you're coming from. I always try and make comparisons, and I hope this doesn't go the wrong way. To some soccer players or someone that you buy for your team, you overpay and try and work out how many times he kicks the ball or etc. It's very difficult to make it until he's integrated into the team and until he finds his feet and that. So, and I think that's where Steinhoff where Aspen are at the moment. In the last set of results, we started to see the benefits of their of their new strategy coming through. They are pricey. They were always pricey, but one can say the same, Peter, for a lot of companies on the JSE. You can look at Discovery and say it's pricey. We can look at Dis-Chem, Clicks, and so many other businesses that are trading at excessive levels. So yeah, I don't want to be put in a position where I'm defending it too strongly. I think from an overall point of view, I never thought of Aspen in any way in the same light as I would have Steinhoff.
Okay, it is a concern though. I also tried to figure out who is this company Viceroy, but it does seem that companies like Steinhoff have not helped the markets, because now, anyone drops a pin and suddenly they'll say, what was that? And the markets will move.
Dead right. And look, where I agree with you, And where I am concerned, because I have to disclose that I've had them in my portfolio. I've had Aspen from a long time ago, and are still doing, even at these levels, pretty well. But what concerned me is that after the set of results that came out in September or October, analysts turned fairly bullish on the company. And in fact, if you look at some of the target prices that these analysts put, and they're well-respected analysts, we know them. We know these analysts, we've dealt with them, we know their reputation. And at that stage, they had put target prices of anywhere between $330 and $370 a share, and we're turning once again more optimistic. But from that date, we started to see the share price fall, almost perpendicularly, without any kind of interruption. It fell from that 315, 320 level all the way back to where it was on Monday at 260, and that concerned me. And I said, and I couldn't work out, I still can't work out what has driven that share price before we started to get the worries about a possible Viceroy report. So there was weakness before, and that's what's disturbing me. I haven't got to the bottom yet of that weakness.
Well, hopefully you will, and we'll catch up with you in due course. David Shapiro from Aspen, thank you very, very much indeed for giving us a heads up on this interesting tale of Aspen Pharmacare. Is it similar? Not similar to the Steinhoff story? If you can look at the numbers, it's not very easy to decipher, but it all started with this company called Viceroy Research, which we don't know much about, and people speculating that they were looking into Aspen. They never specifically said so, but people assumed, and once you get a rumor going, it becomes true. Anyway, that's where we'll leave that particular story. Well,